Based on Raspberry Pi, they put common software, they have their own software. You can use your phone, you can use a tablet, and now I can actually use my MacBook because they've released, if you have the M1, M2 based MacBooks, you can control the ASI Air directly from your laptop. And yes.
You can do it for a PC too if you use an emulator.
Yeah, BlueStacks.
LD player.
Yeah, that or BlueStacks will do that as well. But it's Raspberry Pi, and it controls my mount. I don't use the hand controller anymore. I just plug the ASI directly into the mount. I plug my camera, my Canon camera, directly into the ASI Air, so it takes care of all the image capture. I set the ISO, I set the exposure and how many I want to do, and I just say go, and it'll do that. The newest versions, you can create these plans where you can say, I want to take 30 images at this exposure, I want to take 10 images at this exposure, and I want to take 5 images at this exposure. Okay, I'm done with that target. I want to go over here, and I want to take 100 images of this target at this exposure, at this ISO, and all that kind of stuff. So you can set these plans so you can actually say go inside, which is handy in the wintertime. And you can sit there and monitor. If you're at your home doing this, you can get on the network, you can see what's going on. And so it's a great little device. They have 3 variants. I don't think you can buy the original anymore. But it's worth its money doing polar alignment. There's 2 things that it's worth its money for: polar alignment and plate solving. So, polar alignment is critical to get nice, good tracking if you're going to be doing long exposure. If you're not polar aligned and you're trying to do long exposures, you'll start getting star trailing, field rotation, you get all kinds of things going on with your images that you don't want. So, using the ASI Air, first thing you do at night, you get your scope roughly polar aligned. You just kind of do it. If you have a polar scope, you can kind of generally point it, towards Polaris, or just point your mount north. You go through the polar alignment routine, and it tells you how to adjust your azimuth and declination to get your mount pointing towards the celestial pole. And takes, after you do this a few times, from the time I start polar alignment to where I'm polar aligned is usually 2 to 3 minutes. Whereas before, you would have to do drift alignment or use other software, take half an hour, it might take an hour. Polar alignment is a pain. It's easy with this. The other one is plate solving. Once I get polar aligned, I don't worry about doing those, alignment stars and getting everything aligned. I'll just arbitrarily say, go someplace. Go to M51. Well, I didn't get my mount back in the home position exactly right or whatever. So it'll slew to where it thinks M51 is. It'll take an image, plate solve, and say, oh, I'm not where I need to be. And it'll automatically center your target for you. And so it's great. Or if you accidentally bump into something, you're doing something, you bump your mount, and it gets off, you hit it out of whack. You can just do a plate solve again, and it'll realign itself. And then, if you want the plate solve to go to, you can tell it to plate solve and go back to your original target, or go to a completely new target. So plate solving, those 2, polar alignment and plate solving, is worth the price to me of the ASI Air. Yes.
So you still have to do the star alignment though. It doesn't replace a star sense?
Yep.
It does replace a star sense.
Yeah.
So you don't need a star sense if you have this.
That's correct.
Oh, that's
Just choose
interesting.
quick alignment
Okay.
and so goes from
It's pretty well. It does a go-to. I can also do guiding. It does a great job of guiding. They've got a new version. The newer versions have multi-star guiding, which really helps if you have a turbulent atmosphere, because you're fighting. You hear people talking about fighting the sea with guiding because the stars are bouncing around. They're not steady. So the guide scope thinks that something's wrong, so it starts trying to guide correct that star moving around. Well, that's not necessarily a good thing to do. So what they've done is they have multi-star alignment or guiding, so it'll average all these stars out, because they're all dancing randomly anyway, so they kind of get a nice average. And so my guiding has been really great since that's happened. since they came out with that version.
So you say you control this from your phone, right? Or
Yeah.
a tablet? So this replaces the need for a laptop to run auto guiding software?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
oh, yeah.
Does it do planetary auto guiding or only stellar auto guiding?
It's really just for a star. It won't guide, because it's going,
So,
because you
like-
have your guide scope, you know, wanting to, now you could
So
set.
you can auto guide on planets, the sun, and the moon, but it doesn't do that. Like for traditional
Well,
auto
they're
guiding.
moving it, I mean, the planets don't really move that much, but the moon, you can set your moon rate or whatever. But typically, for guiding, you're taking 3, 4, 5 minute exposures, whereas if you're doing planetary or lunar type stuff,
Short exposures.
you're taking really short exposures.
Yeah, but so if you want to keep something centered, you can auto guide like a crater or a sunspot, but this doesn't do that, right?
No, it wants to do star guiding.
Okay, star guiding only.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mentioned the auto run now to go to, so you can set it up to, you push a button, you set up your plans, and it will just take off and control everything. There are nice features if you use Sky Safari. You can use your phone, pull up Sky Safari. You're sitting there, well, I like this. I want to go here, and you just press go in Sky Safari, and then it'll talk to ASI Air and take you to where you want to go. Now, the new version of ASI Air, the software, they actually also have like a little planetary software. It's not as robust as Sky Safari, but it's still kind of nice as well. Sky Safari. It makes it nice if you want to, just go to different places, kind of a point and go.
Back to the polar alignment, the newest version of ASI Air has all sky on it, so you don't even need Polaris.
I haven't tried that yet.
It's in the stars.
Which is good if you can't see Polaris from where you're imaging, especially if you're like at the equator. It's hard to see
Or if there's a
Polaris.
big house in the way or something.
Yeah, like your trees or whatever. I've tried to do that, at the equator, close to the equator, like a degree or so from the equator, trying to get just getting generally north. You do the whole solar noon, casting shadows, and see what true north is. So you can try to get somewhat close to north. Any other questions about? You can go to the next page here. I think it's just some screenshots. That's the polar alignment. After you get finished up, you can see where Polaris is. I mean, my mount is not that great. The screw adjustments are very coarse. So if I breathe on it wrong, I'll jump around that, and I can never get true polar alignment with my mount. If I had a $15,000 mount, I could dial that in using fine precision, but I don't have fine precision controls on my mount. But that's good enough for what I'm doing. Once I get the little smiley face up in the right-hand corner, I say, okay, we're good. Okay, good. Guiding, you get your guiding graph, and so you can see what your RMS error is, and I will not try to explain RMS error because I don't understand RMS error exactly, and nobody will tell you exactly what's a good value there. Basically, for your equipment, your mount, if you have nice round stars for the exposure you're dealing with, then you're doing good. You just kind of try to keep replicating that each time you're out there trying to manage. Okay, let's see if there's anything else here. Yeah, and with this, I can do, if I get a good polar alignment and I'm not sitting on soft ground where things are changing, whatever, I can get 5 2-minute exposures now using, I've got a cheap guide scope, SV Boni or whatever it is. So I paid $90 or $60 for this little guide scope, 240 millimeter, and I use my planetary imager as my guiding camera. And so I can guide long exposures now.
So you're using a guide scope instead of an OAG with the SCT?
Yeah, that's correct. I've got an off-axis guider, but man, those things are pain.
But I was just reading about this the other day. How do you deal with the mirror shift or mirror flap when it goes up and down the SCT?
I don't have too much issue with that one. I've seen, we've got a C14 in our club, and then I think it wants to shift all over the place as it's starting to go across.
So the
I don't have
smaller
much air
narrow.
shift in that at all.
Okay,
So
that's good.
I really don't have that much problem with
All right.
it. At least with my.
I read that the OAG can correct for that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but you're getting an OAG, an off-axis guider to work, and you're putting stuff on the tube, and it's coming up this way, and I just.
You don't have
I
problems with
just
the
kind
guide
of gave
scope.
up trying to get that to
That's
work.
good.
So I just use the guide scope. That Lumicon focal reducer is actually an off-axis guider as well.
Oh,
I took that part off, the little mirror that sticks down in. And I think that's probably, because I think the rest of them are just images that this is for a different presentation. So,
About guiding with the ASI Air now, I have a William Optics, and it's got the little bracket on top, so my guide scope sits on top. I have the mini, the ZWO mini, this is my guide scope, and then I have a three-pronged tree on top of that. Now, there's no, on that mini guide scope, there's no way to adjust the guide scope up and down. Does the guide scope actually have to be on the stars that you're focusing with it can be any stars, right?
it needs to be close.
Close, but not.
If you're too far off, if you're like at a 10 degree or 15 degree angle off this way.
Right, no.
Then you're going to get
my scope, my scope is here, but then the guide scope is up here.
If it's generally in the same, we're pointing in generally the same area.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be on axis. That's what the off axis is already off axis.
Yeah, so I was just thinking that does the guide scope actually have to be pointing at the same field of view, or
As long as it's pretty close. I mean,
Okay.
within a few degrees, I think you'll be fine.
because the ZWO, the little mini guide scope, and because I'm using the mini for that, it doesn't have any adjustments where you can adjust. It's not inside of a collar where you can
Yeah.
adjust it up and down and around.
So when I was at Green Bank back in July, when Green Bank was, during the day, I got my guide scope and my optical scope lined up. Just because I hadn't done it for a while.
Yeah.
And but even if it's off of some, it's not.
Yeah,
as long as you're generally the same direction.
The center of what I'm looking through my main scope is not the center of what I'm looking through the guide scope, but it's
Yeah,
close.
you only need to do on-axis guiding for like planets. That's like the only time. Although pretty much everything else can be off-axis.
Anything else?
Oh, can you do a demonstration later tonight, or are you planning to do a demonstration of the ASIA? I'd like to see how it works, if possible.
That's my plan.
Okay.
I'm waiting for my family to get up here. I don't know what their plans are. And I've got another talk this evening.
Okay.
Which just happened to coincide with this.
Well, see, if it can replace a Star Sense, that saves a lot of money, because the Star Sense is just getting more and more expensive. Especially if you're on a Sirius, you have to pay for the Skywatcher version. It's insanely
Yeah,
expensive.
seriously, I get rid of the hand controller and I just plug right into the, you have to get the cable,
But
you know,
it would
it's
save,
$20.
hundreds and hundreds of dollars if you can
Yeah.
use an ASIA instead of the Star Sense.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that, yeah.
It's been, so far, it's been great.
Are you still using the original, or do you have the Pro or the Plus?
I got the Plus now,
You got the Plus.
and I've had the original, and I haven't turned the original on for a while.
Yeah, I have the Pro. I've got the Plus, but they said there wasn't that much other than the antenna and a couple other things. But
Yeah, and I haven't necessarily used those features on the Plus, but I've got the Plus.